We're live.
We're live. We are live, and I'm copying the thing. I always wait until the last minute. John, what's wrong with
I put it in the Slack this time.
Oh, you did? Well, I
This
missed
way
it
you
because
could
I was
this
learning
way you
my
could just
Spanish.
copy the post.
Look at
No, I
you.
put it in like yesterday.
Oh, you did?
So you don't have to search for it.
What a jerk. Me, I'm the jerk. You're the good one. Oh, I love your graphic for this. That makes me so happy because goddamn do I see this all the time. In my life, because I have been a nomad for so long, my I just see that kind of if you can't see it, the cover image is like guy sitting on a beach with a laptop, which I just feel like is like the image of this decade for me. And I are talking about, you know what? I was watching a friend of mine. He's like a very fancy guy and he does a lot of live streams, and his live streams all start out like our live stream. So I was like, oh, thank God.
We're not the only ones.
Yeah. He's like done this for years, and there's just kind of like bullshitting at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I set up this has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but I'm learning Spanish, as you know, and I set up my keyboard to like switch back and forth to Spanish and English so I can do all the like accents and stuff like that. And then I forget to switch and I can't figure out how to switch. So I'm like constantly like typing weird Spanish characters into like WhatsApp.
Anyway. I'm so happy you're learning Spanish. And now I actually
trying.
have someone like to speak with. My Spanish sucks too.
Great. We can suck together.
Exactly. And I should be good because my dad was born in Colombia. But like I haven't practiced it in so much. I can have like a basic conversation, I'd say, but like if it's too fast or like they have a heavy accent, it's hard for me to follow. So
listening is the hardest, like because people here speak in Colombia too. They speak so fast, like, and I'm just like, come on, you got to give me a break here. You got like this is too much.
Do you breathe between words?
Yeah,
it all sounds like so one long word.
So anyway, I have a really great teacher. She's very sweet, and she's like, I was telling Jeremy, she's a lot like ChatGPT, where she's like, genius, amazing, you're so smart, like constantly telling me how smart I am.
A lot of encouragement.
Yeah. Which is great because, and I've been thinking about this. Actually, this ties in a little bit to maybe anyway. To work stuff, I'm starting to teach Immerse tomorrow. The Bubbles Immerse program starts tomorrow, or it started last night, but like that was just the kickoff. And so tomorrow I start like content. And I find that like one of my strengths as a teacher is that ChatGPT response of like, you're so great, you're learning, you're doing it, just like cheerleader shit all the way. And I mean it. I'm so excited for people, but it's so funny how like I have observed that while I'm talking to Claude or whatever AI thing, God, I just feel incredible. I feel so smart because it's constantly telling you how smart you are. Even when I'm being an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing, it's still so encouraging. And I'm like, oh, that works. It also
doesn't make you feel stupid in the way that a person does. Like when you ask a stupid question and they're like trying to keep their. I do this. I have a problem with this. And like it's like, you know, like, oh, that was a dumb question, but like the GPT doesn't judge you, and like it's like, well, let's clear this up, you know, like there's always like a patient response to it, and I'm like, well, I don't feel like such an asshole now.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a really nice experience, and I'm sure that's intentional. I'm sure they were like, people will want to spend more time here if we make them feel good about themselves, you know, while they're using
that's
our
by design.
Of course it is. Yeah. Well, and honestly, like while I was talking to it yesterday about like some career stuff and like, you know, what if I did this in the future, and what if this is sort of my next step and whatever. And everything that I would ask about it'd be like, because I give it like my work history, and it was like, you'd be amazing at that. And I was like, I think maybe I want you to just tone that shit down for this conversation. I kind of want you to tell me, hey, maybe that's not a great idea, you know.
This is Claude. Is Claude the friendliest GPT that you've come into contact with?
At this point, I only use Claude, and I don't I feel like ChatGPT did that too, but there's something about Claude's interface that is also very warm and friendly.
Yeah,
That
it
sort
feels
of
that way.
warm tones, which when I first started with Claude, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like the design of it. And now I feel like it's like a nice beige couch that you kind of like snuggle into and like tell it all your secret feelings.
They definitely put some effort into their, like the feel of what you're supposed to feel when you get to their platform. Whereas like ChatGPT feels more like just like a chat box.
Yes.
Like it's like it's just very chatty. Whereas like Claude, it does feel like there was some effort put into like what do I want them to feel when they get here? How do we make this more inviting?
Yeah, it's interesting. So anyway, we should talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Which is autonomy. We're talking about autonomy and the idea of that, putting a huge value on that in the work that you choose to do, right? That like when you think about what you want to be doing and how you want to be like working with people and spending time with work stuff, that I feel like people put that like almost on par with like how much do I make is the idea of autonomy.
I think that it is definitely first off, I think it means something different to everybody when they say autonomy, right? Like you kind of talked about like what do I mean when I say autonomy? What do you mean when you say autonomy? And I feel like everyone's got their own version of that. But as far as like evaluating a job or a career path, for me, that sits so high in what I want, like way more. Like I wouldn't say it's more important than like pay. Like I don't know if you can think of it like one is more important than the other, but like I will take less pay if I have more autonomy. You know what I mean? Like there's like a balance to it where it's like, okay, I can work at 3 a.m. and no one's gonna say anything. Like I don't need to be online for this time. Yeah, I'll take $20,000 less in that salary. Ooh, I don't care. Because like it's that important to me. Like the flexibility of like when I work and when and how I work and what I work on is it makes me way happier than an extra 20K in my overall compensation package. I know everyone doesn't feel that way, but that's like what's important to me. And that's something just like that you would have to like learn about yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think so. Okay, just taking a step back, let's define it. And then I want to, like what we mean, what I mean, what you mean, what I think people or we think people mean when they say this. I used to work with teenagers and for a long time, and they always wanted to start a business themselves. They always wanted to be their own boss, they would say. And I always was like, don't think you know what that means. Don't think you've thought this through. You know what I mean? And so I would ask them and they were like, well, I don't want anyone telling me what to do. I want to make my own decisions. I want to, right? That was like the extent of it. They weren't, and they're teenagers, right? So like, take this with a grain of salt, right? But I think that a lot of people kind of think that when they think about like autonomy, and they may not even use that word, but that they're like, well, I get to do whatever I want to do. I want to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it and make all the decisions and not have, I think a lot of it is around like having someone sort of above you going like, do this, do that, do it this way. Right.
Yeah. And that definitely is what they think is like the cool thing. Like, and I've been in this mindset too. But what you realize pretty quickly when you actually achieve that, whatever that is that you kind of want somebody to like give you some direction. Like that's how I felt. I was like, wow, I really wish I had somebody that knew what they were doing that I could talk to like give me some, advice here.
Because there's elements of like if we're going to define it, it's like often I think people think oversight, autonomy, like the lack of oversight, the lack of like strict adherence to some schedule, right? Like time. They mean like, I want to control my time. I think that people think about like the actual tasks that they're going to do, the things that they are going to work on throughout the day. Like that's a piece of autonomy. And one thing that I think is what I would include in autonomy is like how I go about my work, the systems I use, the processes that I put in place, right? If someone's going to hand me a handbook and go, here's how we do this thing, 100% I'm going to go, that's dumb. This is a bad way of doing it. And I want to change it, you know? And so building systems around the most efficient, the smartest way to do something is like, for me, a huge part of autonomy, which I think, like you're saying, like you wouldn't get that unless you had been in a situation where you were required to do it the other way, and you realize you value that.
I think it's cool when someone can give you a playbook and say, hey, this is the way we're doing it. We don't like this. And so can you fix it? You know, like that to me is the most ideal, because it's like you gave some framework. I don't mind building the framework myself, but it's going to take longer to get to like whatever it is we're trying to achieve. So, but like, hey, you have the autonomy to refine this process because we don't think it's working that well. That's my favorite situation to be.
I love
it.
Like
the refinement part. But there's also a whole nother level of autonomy. We're just specifically speaking about work stuff. I'm also thinking of like autonomy over your life and the lifestyle that you want to live. And like, I know like the traveling part and working from anywhere is very important to you, Kelly. So like, does the level of autonomy that your job or your career path gives you align with how you want to live your life? And I think that's, you know, important question that people don't start asking until a little later in life. They don't even know. Like, I didn't know when I was like 20, like, this is what's going to be important to me. I just thought salary, right? Like right out of college, I'm just like, just big salary. I don't care. Yeah. It's like, no, like, it's not, that's not right. That was my first guess.
Well, also like, if I can like kind of riff on that for a second, when I started traveling, I had a whole career. Like I had, I don't know, 12 or 13 years of like nonprofit operations that I had done. And then I decided I wanted to travel, and I took a whole new career path. Like it was a piece of what I had been doing, but I had design as a small part of my job, or like it was kind of, it was like 25% of my job at my last job in New York. And I took that and was like, okay, in order to be able to have that kind of autonomy, the moving around and working from anywhere, I thought, I actually kind of really suspected, and I think I was right, that like the type of work I was doing in the industry I was doing it in was not feasible. Like you can't, it's really hard 10 years ago to be an operations director for a small nonprofit from Spain when that nonprofit's a remote operations director. Like not everything was in the cloud yet. Google Drive was still pretty new at that point. You know, it just, you kind of needed to be there, and you needed like, it was, that industry is in particular is just like behind the times a little bit. And so for me, I ended up giving up this like career that I really loved and I knew how to do really well. And, you know, I got all these sort of like benefits from in different ways, emotional benefits, for that one part of having autonomy over my life, you know? And so the value of it was so high that I was like, huge pay cut, because I went freelancing after. I mean, I didn't make much, you know, as a nonprofit person. I took a huge pay cut, and I was thrown into this world that I didn't understand how to be a freelance designer. I had huge insecurities about my skills, and I had no means of getting clients. So like, I just gave up like everything for that one piece of autonomy in my life.
For that one work for yourself dream that they sold you. I bought into it too. Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, I actually am really glad I did that. You know, like I stuck with it for, I think a lot of people do that and then they come back home in 2 months because they're like, this is fucking hard, you know.
This is really hard.
I was like, it was still exciting enough. It was valuable. It turns out it was valuable enough for me
It wasn't, it was more painful than I thought it would be, I think is and some people, like myself included, it's like, I don't know if I'm like, I think like that pain is going to help you learn about yourself. And I think that's the value in it. You're going to learn about what you like really fast and what you don't like doing and what you're good at and what you're not good at. Like, and that's a valuable life lesson. You know, you're going to do that. I'm watching, oh man, I have a perfect example of this. My sister is way better at a business-minded approach to her life than I am. She like just does not get stressed out about like, oh, I need to find more clients. You know, she's just like, all right, I'm gonna go on the SEO. I'm gonna learn how to do this. It's almost like a robot, and she can do this in so many like disparate areas that don't relate to each other. She's like, I just got to do this now. I just got to do this now. And I'm watching her do this way better than I did it when I was like going through that thing. And it's cool to see because I'm like, it's like I knew you were going to be good at this because like you have to have a little bit of the like the ADD like brain to I think to work for yourself. But like I'm watching her do it successfully, and it's super cool to see because I'm like, she's better at this. She's better. I can look at her and say, you're better at this than I am, you know, objectively, which is cool.
Yeah. When you were like, okay, I'm going to freelance as a bubble developer or, you know, whatever, was it a sort of amorphous kind of like, this is what I hear is a good way to live? Or did you have specific things?
Okay. Oh, good question. Okay, let's go back. Why did I do like? I think I definitely bought into the dream factory of like working for yourself is the pinnacle of life, and you know, like, and American like society and marketing, you know, it like drives this this thought. You know, it's almost like owning a home is the American dream type thing to me. You know, it's like it's very set at a cultural level that this is the path to go. We don't really know why, you know, like we're not sure why. It's just set. It's just very ingrained in our culture. And I'm sure others also. So I definitely bought into that. And I always had it since I was like, I don't know, probably like in my teenage years that like the people that you were talking to. It's like, I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss without really thinking through what that actually means. You know, like it's just like, it sounds great when you're out of college, and I guess probably a part of it too is like the possibilities just seem endless. You know, there's so many possibilities, and you can go in any direction that you want. No one's telling you what to do. That's why I got sold on it, and that's why, you know, eventually I made the jump. But that's what got me there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's funny that you said that because I did not have that experience culturally in my upbringing. My parents both worked for companies, and like my dad was like a company man. He worked for the phone company for 40 years and then retired from it, you know? And so like in my mind, working is a collaborative, you join something and you're a part of some larger body, and that's what work is. I never had like an entrepreneurial adult in my life who I saw as any kind of model. And I think that like you grew up in New York, right? In Brooklyn. I think it might be different there.
Between Long Island and Queens, yeah.
Okay, right. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I was born on Long Island. I forgot we were sort of, I don't know, neighbors.
Floral Park. I went to school in Floral Park. And my parents split up when I was young. So my dad lived in Jamaica, Queens, and my mother lived in Floral Park. So we kind of like.
So Jamaica got like on the edge of. You're a Long Island kid.
That's what all the Queens people say. That's what I feel. My girl tells me. She's like, yeah, you're a Long Island guy.
Jamaica,
don't try to be Queens. Don't try to be Queens.
Yeah.
Wait, Jamaica, Queens? You know where Jamaica, Queens is?
I know where Jamaica, Queens is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it is in Queens, but
that's Queens.
It's on Queens. No, you're right. But I'm just saying, it's like, anyway, everyone is like so bored listening to us talking about this.
I know. It's very local.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't have that cultural message like put on me. And so it never occurred to me to work for myself or be my own boss or start a company. That never was a part of my upbringing. And it wasn't sold to me as a dream. I don't know. I just didn't get that message. I was also like extremely unaware as a young person, just like very sort of in my own tiny little world, right? I think for me, it wasn't a dream that I was sold when I decided to go freelance. It was a tool to have that one piece of autonomy of being able to travel. It was just a tool. I had one person in my life, the designer that we had previously hired was a freelancer. And I think that's why I was like, oh, I could do design freelance, because I had met a person who did that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like an anomaly in my life. It wasn't, all my friends had. That's so interesting though, because like my community was all like actors and stage managers are freelancer. Like I did have a ton of freelancers around me, but somehow it just didn't, I don't know. It was like,
didn't click until you met that designer, you're saying? Like
yeah.
that was the person that was like,
years
oh,
after.
design.
Yeah, years after. Like we hadn't worked with her for like 4 or 5 years. And then when I was like, I'm going to travel, I was like, what can I do from somewhere else? What are my skills? Oh, that one, I remember we hired that woman that one time. Like, yeah. So I do think it's a dream that people get that message, but I think it depends on where you are, like what you were raised around.
Yeah, no, that's, I think, I mean, of course your parents are always going to have a big influence on whatever you decide to do. But it's interesting that like for you, it was travel, you know, like that was the big draw to how you got to, I want more autonomy, right? That was the thought process. For me, it was like, I think I want to just run a big company and be rich. And that's how I got to the end goal of like, oh, I need to be more autonomous and start my own business, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Both of those things, like and from my end, like that process seems so like straightforward in my mind. It's so stupid looking back at it now. Like it's funny, it's comical to think like that's what I thought was going to happen. Or that was like the best path to getting what I wanted. But like, you know, like again, like in that because I don't regret the way that I did it, because of how I took the jump and started working for myself. I learned so much about what I don't want to do with my life. So like that's like, again, like that's probably the most like valuable thing that you get out of, like, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about like, oh, I should do this, like you're gonna regret not doing it. It's not about like, hey, should I do this now or should I do, you know, like if my thing was like, hey, I tried it. If my thing was like, I tried it and I didn't, you know, it wasn't what I expected and it wasn't for me, that is so much better than I never tried at all.
Totally.
Like that would kill me. That would kill me in my later years. Like I would regret that forever.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like, I think we go through our careers, or we sort of start new phases of our careers. I'm doing this right now, where you start a new phase of your career and you're like, well, I have to do it the right way. I cannot fail at this. And, you know, in some cases, like there's too much at stake, right? Maybe you have kids or you have like a mortgage that you, right? But you can also, like, nothing is permanent. Nothing has to be permanent.
Right. It's not,
there's no promise that something will be.
There's not a one-way door. And I understand if you have a family and obligations and commitment, that decision is a lot harder and probably it will happen slower than what I did, was just quit my job. I just decided, I'm quitting my job. I have no money. I have no way to, like, I have no secured income from the stupid startup idea that I had, but like, I don't care. I want to go figure this out. I wouldn't recommend that as a way to do it.
No.
I don't recommend that to anybody. That was stupid. But it was my way.
It's exactly what I did, though.
It was my way to do that. I couldn't have done it in any other way. It's just the way that I want to do things. But like, I realized like that is not for everybody. That don't take that as a prescription of like, you just got to make the jump. Like, think about the jump. Think about why you're doing it. Think about your family. Think about everything before you
do some research. Like, I didn't do any research. I just, and this is, God, I do this all the time where I'm like, I'm just going to do that thing and it'll work. I just believe it'll work, you know.
Trial and error.
Yeah. And I'm always glad that I did it in some ways. In some ways, I'm like, didn't turn out great, you know. But one other thing that I was thinking about with it, sort of types of autonomy is timeline, like deciding when you are going to do something. And I'm talking about like if I'm tackling a project, a set of tasks that under the umbrella of a project, the timeline in my mind is sort of like, well, when am I going to do that part of that thing? Or like, when am I going to, I don't know, learn how to fill in the blanks, right? Whereas if you're in a job, your timeline is dependent on the timeline of the stuff you have to do is dependent on the company's timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think there is, maybe this isn't like a conscious idea that people think about, but I certainly have valued going, for example, I don't know how to do this thing well. And so I'm not going to do that right now. Right. I'm just not going to take those projects because I don't want to learn that right now. Whereas if I worked in a company and they were like, we need you to do this, I would have to learn that stuff right now. And I do think that's a really nice part of autonomy, that I can decide when I'm not ready to do that yet. You know,
I'm not ready to learn that thing yet. And you feel as though you have more control over that when you're working for yourself versus a company?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
See, I see it the other way. I see it as like, I don't have a choice now whether I want to learn how to like write a blog with that's going to get me some SEO. Like I have to do this or I'm not going to eat, like I have to do this now. I see it like no one's telling me that I have to do it, but I know I have to do it. Like all the shit that I don't want to do, I have to do that now, like right now. Like that's how I felt when I was working for myself.
No, you're right. You're right. That I think there is some aspects of it that you definitely like. You have to do your taxes by the date, and you have to, if you took on a project, you have to learn the stuff you have to do for that project. I guess what I'm talking about is like on a higher scale. Like if take like APIs and stuff, for example, that type of work, when I come across that on a project, now I do it, it's fine. But for years, I was like, I'm not interested in learning that at this point. So I'm going to offload that to someone else. I'm going to outsource it to someone else. So because I worked for myself, I was able to do that. I was able to make that decision for myself.
Versus like if it's your job description, then you're doing this now, Kelly. We don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to learn this. Okay, Understood. There's two ways to look at that. Well, there's probably a lot of different ways. What is Anchor saying here? Next step is running business that's kind of next to know yourself more.
So like Anchor, are you saying like running a business, like hiring people where it's not a freelance thing? Once you've done that, then the sort of next step of, personal growth or professional growth is going to run a business. Here's another question very much related to that is, does being the boss equal autonomy? What do you think?
I'd like to hear from people that are running a business right now. Running a business and like we kind of talked about this in our freelancing versus agency talk, where it's like you're doing less of the work and you're like less of the hands-on like product that you're trying to, or service you're delivering, and more of like the people management stuff and the sales and all that. That's what Anchor meant. Okay. So, but like, is that so the higher, I guess if you want to look at that as like the higher you go up in that chain, like, are you really getting more autonomy? You're making decisions. You're definitely making decisions. And if that's what you mean by autonomy, like I'm calling the shots of how this affects everyone that works under me, that's autonomy to some people. Like that's what they think autonomy is. Again, it just kind of goes back to like, what do you think autonomy is? That might be where you want to be. But like to your question, Kelly, is that what you want? Like all of those people, like the decisions you're making affect so many people. And
man,
do you want that pressure? Like you're gonna feel that pressure unless you're like a sociopath. But like you're gonna like feel the pressure of like having to fire somebody and like making these hiring decisions and making a really difficult decision for the company, and like that has to have some kind of impact on your mental health, your you know, like yeah, I think
Yeah.
does that make sense what I'm saying? Like is that
Yeah.
autonomous?
Yeah. I think like when you are managing people, you cannot control people and how they work and how good they are at their job. You know, you can do some stuff to like influence that, but you can't make that happen. And so in that way, I think there's like I don't even know if autonomy really factors into it as much, because like you can do whatever you want. Whether that's going to work or not when you have other
Yeah.
people involved is like, that's
I
the
got to
question.
imagine. I got to imagine that having that pressure feels more like a prison than just having a job. You know, like the
Yeah.
stakes are so high that like
Mhm.
anything you do is going to be criticized. Is going to be like you gotta hear it from everybody. You gotta hear it
Mhm.
from different stakeholders. I don't want that kind of pressure in my life. That's not
Yeah.
for me. That's not for me.
Well,
I know it's
I
not.
think there's also this idea. I suspect when people say like I want to be my own boss, they think that will be easier
Yeah.
in all kinds of ways. And when you are the boss, Jeremy and I were just talking about this last night. When you're the boss, what happens then is that the things that come to you are the things that no one else can do in theory, right? And which means it's more complicated, it's more complex, and they're harder problems to solve. So as you move up, and I've never been the boss, so maybe I'm totally wrong about this. Someone chime in if I'm wrong about this. That like it's just going to get harder. It's going to get more complicated, and there's going to be more problems that you have to solve that no one else can solve. You don't get the simple problems.
And again, like, is that when you're at that level, does that mean freedom? Like Anchor, I'm curious what you're like running a business gets you autonomy. Fine, but what does that mean to you? You know, like what does running
Yeah.
a business gets you autonomy mean? But not immediately. It will take time more than 3 to 4 years, maybe. I don't know what the timeline is for autonomy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious at Anchor how you think of what being autonomous means. Because I almost guarantee that it's going to be different from what I think and what Kelly
Uh-huh.
thinks. You know, like we're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
have three different definitions of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, the being the boss, right? Being
Being
the
the
boss,
boss. Yeah. I
being
mean,
the
if I think about being the boss, and I've like led interns and things like that. And I've been sort of like the boss of my domain within an organization where I'm like,
Mhm.
we're going to use Salesforce. Everybody adopt it, you know, and like they have to do the thing. So I've been boss like in some ways, but I've also had like no power at all within the organization in other ways, which can be like this conflicting sort of
Middle
awful.
management
Oh,
kind of
God,
thing. Yeah,
awful,
yeah, yeah.
awful. But you know, I think for myself, I would love to be the boss because I think I know best. And then I get to dictate what happens. I think I would also be not great at that because I I can get really frustrated with people when they're not doing something the way that I think is the best way to do it. So sort of I think it's just a deceptive idea that,
Yeah.
you know, being the boss.
It means autonomy, right? Like being the boss means autonomy. I think that's like what we're kind of knocking down here. If you define autonomy as being the boss, there's a whole, and you know, again, I think this is for some people. For some people
Mhm.
want it this way. They just want to call the shots and like, and that's it. But I think it's lonely. I think
Mm.
that there's a ton of pressure to deal with, and I don't think it means like it doesn't ultimately lead to the spot that I want to be in my life, right? That's not where I want to be.
Mhm.
I want to be able to like go to Poland for 10 days and like not have anybody talk to me. You know,
Mhm.
I'm still probably going to check in and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not like I don't want like don't call me for stupid things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that to me again, it's like I have the flexibility in my life to choose to go somewhere and then work when I want to work. Like to me, that is fine. I don't have so there's this thing that I wanted to talk to you about. It's like I don't have any work life separation. I'm always on. Sunday morning
Uh,
on Christmas, I'm on. but I want to be there. It's not that anybody told me I had to. I want to do this because like, oh, that just came to me at a really weird time. I want to do this now. You know, like I want to get this so I don't forget or whatever it is. Like to me, that is what autonomy means. Like no one told me that I have to work on Christmas morning. I wanted to because I had a great idea that I wanted to get out of me. And then like, you know, but if I guess for more it's me, it's like, I think you alluded to this before. It's like, how closely is somebody directing what I do and my work, right? Like if you give me the goal, I'll figure it out. It's going to be like, you know, and I'll do it fast, but like, you got to let me like breathe. I got to breathe and get creative. If you start like giving me the playbook and tell me, no, this is how we're doing it. And I'm going to lose interest pretty quickly because there's a better way. There's always a better way.
Yeah. It's fascinating because for almost 10 years now, I have been like, I'm a freelancer. I'm never going to have a job again. And I'm bad at that. And you know, whatever. And talking to you about your experience at your job has like totally shifted that for me. I'm not ready to say like, I want a job yet. Like, I don't think I've done a total 180, but everything that I thought a job in this industry, what had to be, is you've sort of like knocked it, like you've proven that those are not always true. I know. It's really nice. Yeah. And honestly, it's like opened up I'm like, what if I did get a job? What if I like, there was a company I was really interested in making an impact. That's another thing I wanted to talk about is like the impact you make. If there was a company that I was like, that's a cool thing that they do, and I could make a big impact there and I would enjoy it and I like the people and all of that, I actually think I would give it a shot, which is just totally wild to me that I'm shifting a mindset like that. Jeff is here. Jeff's my buddy. And so we need to see what he's going to say. It's nuanced in the end. Autonomy is being able to control more of how you work, but clients and customers are the ultimate boss. So
that's right.
It's hard to actually fully take off. In a company, you can kind of disconnect and others. Okay. That is exactly, I wanted to talk about that so bad. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, let's talk about that one.
When you are on your own, the buck stops with you. The blame is on you. Like everything is on you. You cannot blame anyone. You could blame Bubble. You could be like, Bubble was down, sorry, or whatever. But like, you can't do that every day, and you can't do that on every project. And Bubble's not down that much, so like we should not blame.
And the customers and clients ultimately will not care that the development platform that you chose has a downtime. Who gives a shit?
Really good point.
It's your fault.
Yep. Yeah. So like when you work on a team, not only is like the work itself probably a little bit distributed, and you can sort of negotiate that a little bit. But also, like there's a little bit more safety there, and I think there's a lot more safety in when you're on a team with just where I hate to frame it like where the blame falls, because that's not.
It's like accountability. It's more like the accountability can shift a lot easier if you're working with a team. Again, if it's a client or a customer, you're not going to be like, oh, well, Jimmy didn't do his job, so this is why your app is not available right now. Yeah. The customer will be like, I don't care. Like,
whatever, get it done.
Yes, yeah. I don't care.
But and some people, I think, like, I actually really like all of the responsibility. I like having control over that. I have worked with people in the past. Anyone here knows that I'm like, oh, you're lazy. You're not like, and if any of my projects depends on you, I am just going to do your work for you. Like, I don't want the possibility that I look
not
bad.
Exactly the collaborative spirit.
No,
not at all.
It was not a great experience.
As someone who actually got in trouble for doing work outside of business hours at a previous job, this doesn't getting in trouble. I'm curious who yelled at you. Was it your boss or your coworkers? Like, hey, you're making us all look bad.
Oh my God, that's such a good point.
Tell us more about that, Flowtron.
Yeah. While Michael tells us about that, I'll tell you a tiny story. When I first got my very first like real life adult job, It was for an opera company, and I was the education director, and I was like in love with my job, and I wanted to be working all the time. And this was in 2004, 2005 maybe, and so like early days, no cloud stuff, you know, it was just like, and I found out in a staff meeting about this software called Log Me In, which I think it might still exist, but it was a way to remotely log into your computer out in another location, right? And you could like control your computer. It was tragic. It was slow and it was so hard to do, but it was like revolutionary, right? And someone mentioned this in this staff meeting, and I, in all earnestness and exuberance, I go, wait, so I could work all the time? They were like, holy God, you nerd. What a dork. I mean, I logged in all day, Saturday, Sunday. I worked all the time, and I loved it. I loved it. And they, my coworkers who were just like seasoned people, they were in their 40s and were like, no, nope. I texted my friend Lynn once, and she responded to me, and she was like, first of all, I am not at work. So you are not allowed to message me when I am not at work about a work thing. Second, here's the answer. But again, 3, don't do this again. It was
damn.
I know.
And that's the, I think there's a difference between like work-life separation and work-life balance. I've got a very, very good work-life balance. It doesn't feel stressful to me to like, it's just, there's urgency, yes, but I want to do that work. Work-life balance, I feel like, is when you have to separate those two, like your work and your life. And these are like, now I'm on the clock, now I am not. You know what I mean? Like that creates stress. And people think about that very differently. You know, like that person that said that to you is like, listen, I'm not on the clock right now. Don't you dare message me.
Don't you dare.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't you dare. Like,
it was such a great lesson. And like, she's a good friend still, even to this day. And I'm so value so many things that she told me she was like very clear and direct with me on like how I was going about things. All right. Michael responded, he was a manager, just wasn't allowed. I was a data analyst and my work was not customer facing.
The manager was who yelled at him.
Oh, it was his manager. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I was analyzing, my work was not customer facing, so to top it off, I was remote. So they yelled at you for working off hours. Interesting. I'd love to know why. Like I you probably don't know this, Lotron, but I'd love to know why the manager like stopped you from working when you wanted to work. Like, I don't know, maybe they felt that the culture would be thrown off or something. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd love to talk to that manager.
I know. Shared ownership versus ultimate ownership.
This is what we were talking about a little bit before about like, you know, how you can kind of hide if you're on a team a little bit in a larger company, I think, and you know, shared versus always like the performance of the team over the like your own performance, it will shift based on what you're doing.
I think this is why I'm like a kind of attracted to your position right now, Jon, is because it seems like you kind of have sort of shared ownership because you work within a little bit larger company where there's like 10 or 15 people there, but you're the only one in your role. Like you're in control of your domain. And so you do have ownership, but you also can like you kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yes, but here's the difference in, I know what you're saying. I still can't do my job and deliver a good product without the help of the other people that are on this team. So I am still relying on cross-functional communication to do my job, do my part well. And that involves like understanding what their priorities are and understanding like what's driving them. Like I have to spend a lot of time understanding what the product marketer person thinks is important, because I am not going to come up with that messaging. No way. What I put out there will have like 3 words and no one will understand what I'm saying. Like my communication is so short that like I know I'm not the right person to do that. I need that dude. I need the head of well-being to tell me this is what mental fitness is and this is how we're going to position it. All of that, like the product on its own, it's a nice car that you can't drive.
you're the funnel for all of this stuff over here. It has to come through you, and then you sort of like spit something out at the end, which is the distillation of all of that stuff into a
I
tangible
think
form.
that's how I see it. I see that like my job is like where the rubber hits the road. This is how it like it's not that I have decision making power over all of this, but I have to put it all together in a way that makes sense and then deliver it. Right. So that's my part of this whole machine. But there's a lot of other high level stuff that has to happen before I can do that part. And that's where like,
Right.
like the collaboration part is important.
Mm-hmm.
Flotron said the actual reason I just sent some emails after hours, and that's what flagged it. I just started scheduling. There you go. See what happens when you get yelled at? Like you're just like, all right, I'll just figure out a way around this. It just makes you more creative on how not to get in trouble. Like I love that, Flotron.
Well, what's interesting about that is like, okay, and I mean, there's been plenty of conversations about this, but like some people, I work really well at night. And so, I don't want to work in the morning. That's not when I'm good at work. And so, yeah, I'm going to like send messages at night to people. I don't expect them to respond, but like, why does it like this is a part of the autonomy piece is like, I want to be able to work in the middle of the night and nobody gives a shit. That's what I want.
And like, don't like, I think maybe like that's a thing too. It's like people feel like, oh, well, Kelly's working at 3 in the morning. That means I have to. Like, that's not the point of Kelly sending a message at 3 in the morning.
Right.
It's not like do what I do. It's like, this is just when I want to work. I want to be sleeping at like 10 in the morning because I need a nap because I got up at 4. You know what I mean? Like, and like, don't mess with me in my nap. Like, let me nap.
Right.
But like, I don't expect you to be awake at 4 in the morning. Like, because that's when I prefer to work. Like that's.
Do you think that COVID and everyone working remote for like a couple years or whatever, like just changed how people think about autonomy in their jobs? It must have.
I think it had to. Yeah, I think that they talked about the Great Resignation where people were just resigning. They talked about like quiet quitting was another term. Like people would quit their jobs. So like, yeah, I think shutting down everything and like definitely had to have an effect on how people see work. And it's weird like now because we're kind of like in this like shift back towards the, hey, it is kind of nice to be in an office and be able to like, or like not an office, but like a shared space where you can talk to other people in person, not just on Zoom. Like this is one of the rare times of my week where I'm speaking through a computer and I'm not trying to get off the call. Like I'm actually, you know what I mean? Like a Zoom meeting is usually like, all right, these are our agenda items. Let's get through them. And then I'm going away. Right. And then we're gonna go do what we need to do. There's something like different, magical that almost happens when there's a synergy in a single room with 5 people in it. And like, you're all just like making each other laugh and like, it's fun. Like it can be fun. I don't get that. I've never felt that through a Zoom meeting, not in that way.
But your team is remote, right?
We are. Yeah.
Interesting.
But we're making a lot more of an effort to kind of do more in-person stuff too. Like, so we're trying and it works better. Like it does. Like we get more done and we fix our like communication issues with each other quicker if we're physically together. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm advocating for go back to the office by any means. Like I love the autonomy of working from home and going places when I need to. I love that. But there is something to being in a room together. Like we're human. Like we want to like be able to be in person together. Like it's a human thing.
No, it's true. I was thinking about like if I did get a job somewhere, I live in Spain, so it's a lot easier to be like, well, can't come to the office in New York, like I'm not moving back to anyway. But I spend 80% of my work time laying down. I like work on my back and just like have a whole setup. I work on my bed right here. Right, this is my bed, and I never want to sit at a desk all day ever again. It's bad for like my shoulders. I'm like hunched over. It's much like better for me, and so to like work from my bed. And if I had to take a job where I could not lay down all day, even if I had to go to the office, I would put a bed in that office.
You need like a pod, like Kelly's work pod. That's just horizontal.
Right. That's right. I found this chair. It's like a $800, $1,200 chair. That's like, oh God, I want it so bad. It's like your feet go up and you can kind of like press a button. It's like a dentist chair kind of. But you have like this table for your computer and it like straps it in so it doesn't fall on you, and your like mouse. I just want it so bad. I want it so bad. I don't have the room for that, but I'm like, that's what work should be. You should be able to, I want to put my body in the position that I want to put it in. That's the level of autonomy that I want to have.
And like, I don't think a lot of people would think of, like, if you're thinking autonomous, like that's what they thought of, like a dentist chair, like that's your thing, that's your thing. And that's like, super cool that like you can work that way. And if you're more productive in working that way, why the fuck would anybody stop you from doing that? Who cares? Like, I mean, I can understand why an employer would want to purchase like a special chair just for Kelly, because then they have to do it for everybody. Sure. But like, who's to stop you from sitting in the way that you want to sit when you're working? Like, it's crazy to me.
I do, in honor of you, sit up for our calls, just so I don't make it weird. Also, the angle when you're laying down is just very weird. It's not attractive.
Got you. But I am curious, for the people that do in the chat, like, what is like the top thing that you're like, that's what I want to be able to, like, don't ever tell me to do this. Don't ever tell me to do it this way. Like, Jeff, Michael, Anchor, tell me what that thing is for you, because again, I really feel very strongly that this is different for everybody. So I'm curious.
Okay, while people are thinking on that, I think that there was a couple of other downsides that I was thinking of, like downsides to an totally autonomous kind of situation, which I don't think that's possible to have a totally autonomous work life. But unless you're like an author, but even then you have an editor. I don't know. So one is, there was a few, I had a list and I'm just going to throw them out here. One, I think some people just need more structure. They just don't work well on their own. They're not going to get stuff done on time, whatever. Right. Two is a limited perspective. And I think this is very true in the bubble world, is when we work on our own, and we don't have coworkers or sort of collaborative scenarios, even with just like colleagues that we don't work directly with, we just have a limited scope of knowledge. We know what we know, and we don't know any more than that, unless we like intentionally go learn that thing, right? Whereas if you are on a team, you're going to absorb a lot more because you have just more inputs, right? And I think you missed that. I definitely missed that as a designer who, like, I never worked with another designer. I didn't even know what other designers. I think that really, 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 really limited me in my career and what I was able to do.
So this is almost an art, like the point that you're making is like why you like why it's kind of okay sometimes to be like relying on other people in your team.
Yeah, it is a downside of autonomy, is your limited knowledge base and your like limited perspective.
Yeah.
If you're not really interacting with other people.
If you're thinking of autonomy in the way that's like, I work by myself, right? Like, and I can do whatever I want, right? That's the context in how you're thinking about this, right? Okay. Understood. Understood. That's very true.
Yep.
There was one other thing. There's one other point I wanted to make. Let's see what Jeff has to say here. I just think I think I just want autonomy to work the way I want and when I want, but having clear things people want from an output goal is a-okay. Yeah. Yeah. See that? I didn't think of that. Right. But that's very true. It's like you can have all, like, if I don't know what the goals of the company, like, I'm just going to make up my own stuff and I'll probably be wrong. Like, how does that help anybody? Yeah. Company goals, the goals of the other departments, I guess, but like, we have to be unified under kind of one common, what are we driving towards?
I had a client once when I was doing like web design stuff, and this client wanted me to have autonomy over his messaging, his like all of this stuff. And I was like, I don't know your business. You got to clarify all of this stuff for me. And he wanted me to like own it. I really want you to feel like you can own it. And I was like, this is not my thing. This is your thing. And I can't own it because I don't know what you know. I don't have the goals that you have. Like, I need the clarity from you of what you want. What do you need?
Yeah.
What are your goals? Like Jeff is saying, like, it's different if it's your company and you know where you want to go with it and you can make those decisions. If it's someone like a client, if it's someone else's thing, you need that in order to know if you've achieved the thing that you've been hired to do.
I think that gets confusing when you're a freelancer because they'll hire you as an engineer. They hired an engineer and they're trying to squeeze a brand marketer or a product marketer out of you too, because it's like, oh, this is my one-stop shop here. They're not making a distinction that those are two very different things in their mind, I've seen that before too.
Yep.
Flowtron, I want to be able to work from whatever country I want, whatever time of the day I want. There you go. Sounds like you, Kelly.
Yep. Come on, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Async in general is my preferred style. Yeah, I think. Okay, async. So kind of counter to what I was saying before about like synergy in a room. But I think both. Right. I definitely like it when it's time to do my part. Like I want to do that alone. I don't want to be around anybody. I want to like have to answer questions when I'm trying to get my thing done. But like, to know what my thing is, I feel like is better. Synchronous.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of async?
Synchronously.
Yeah, I hear async a lot, but I never hear like the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think it's synchronous.
I
this is another thing that I've kind of told myself for a long time that I think is actually wrong. Is like, I don't want to do calls. Like I just don't want to do calls. I love doing calls, actually. I don't want to do stupid calls. I don't want to do calls where, like, there's no reason to do it or you're just checking up on me or something like that. But doing a call where we're actually, like, getting something done or working something out or like, just enjoying, communicating with each other. Like, that's gold. That's so fun, right? I would do calls all day. I love coaching. That's on a call, But I think, like, if I'm going to be doing my work, I don't want that to have to happen on a specific schedule, I think.
Fair. Very fair. Yeah, the weekly check-in, not your jam.
Daily. At Swapstack, we had daily stand-ups for a while, and I was like, this sucks so bad. But the funny thing is, I actually enjoyed the calls, but it was just the pressure of needing to, I think it was also just like a huge shift from how my work life had been for many years, right? That all of a sudden I had a daily call with a client, my boss. But also I felt this sort of like, I have to be productive every single day in order to, when we get on our stand-up, for me to go, here's what I did, and here's what my questions are, and like, here's when it's going to be done. I just felt that pressure, even though Jake was like, but that's not what this is.
That's not the point of this.
At all.
But like,
not at all.
It was hard to get that out of your head, even though like
impossible.
He said that, right? Like I know what you're saying about that one, because I feel the same way.
Yeah, and that's
like
an aspect.
This constant pressure to deliver. Like I have to deliver on a schedule.
Right. I think that, like, as human beings, we think, and work life, like, we have to be productive Monday through Friday, and then Saturday we get to like not do anything and just like be disconnected or whatever. Like, we have that structure. I definitely got that message, right? In my childhood. But the truth is, like, you are not productive every single day. Some days you have just like a wonky day where you're just going to be like, just kind of a shitty worker, and I think that I want that freedom as well, to have a shitty day. That might not be shitty. Like, I might not feel like it's shitty. I'm just like, I just can't really work today on that or that hard or in that way. And that's okay. That's like, okay in my world. And I like that. I really value that about my work life.
I love that definition of autonomy. It's like, I want the permission to, like, I'm not going to do this right now. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you when you need it. But I'm not doing this right now.
Yep, it's really nice.
There's one more thing I wanted to say about just like what I thought how to achieve autonomy in my own personal definition of it. It was more for me about being way more selective about the people that I work with. So as a freelancer, you really can't do that. And that's why ultimately freelancing, the path that I chose in working for myself was not for me. You can't really choose your customers as much as you'd like to think you can. I mean, if you got a ton of inbound leads, sure, maybe, but I didn't have that. Right? So I didn't have some marketing machine that was just cranking leads into me every day. I had to, take what I could get. And what I realized is that like the thing that scares me the most is being in a relationship with like someone that I really don't like, that could be romantic, or that could be, a coworker or a customer. Like that terrifies me because I'm like stuck with that person that I can't stand. And like once I started realizing like, oh, this like the fear here is like I'm gonna get into a project that I can't get out of with that person. And then I would like talk myself. I'd be like, I'm not going to do this job. I'm going to figure out all the reasons to explain to this person why I can't do this right now. And that doesn't make for a good freelancing business. So so that's one of the things that's like being like and now that like to your point, like the way that I explain my job now, we were both like the company and myself were very like that process was long. We spent like 6 months getting to know each other, and I started as freelancing first. Like that process took a while, and that ultimately I think is why I feel right for the position now, especially at this point in my life, and what I've gotten to this point is that all of the things that were important to me were checked off by this role, this company, this time. That's why I'm happy now in this job.
It took a while. Like if you had signed up day one for the job, do you think that would have worked?
I think it would have. I mean, ultimately, yes. I think because of the relationship I have with the people that are there now, but I didn't know that, and I could have easily gotten that wrong. So it would have been a crapshoot, right? Instead of like testing the waters over time, it would have just been like, all right, I'm going all in on this company. Hopefully, they're not a bunch of assholes. Like how would I have known that though? Had I not like kind of done this courting process for that time? I don't think it was 6 months, probably more like 4 months. But this was it wasn't just me, and it was like they were doing the same thing to me. You know what I mean? Like we were both okay with that pace. I wasn't in a rush, they weren't in a rush, and ultimately that led to a good result. But it took time.
That's exactly how it's not a work thing, but when Jeremy and I started dating 7-8 years ago, we were like, I'm much older than Jeremy, and like we're not compatible on the surface. We're not the same type of person. I'm 11 years older than him. It just he's Canadian, I'm American. There's all these reasons why it just was not going to work, and so it was a very sort of like we agreed that we were not going to stay together forever. We just were like, but this is fun. We're just going to like keep hanging out. It was 2 years before we were like, oh, this actually really, really works. Maybe we're together, and now we're married. Right. But I think that the value of that, which applies to what you're just saying, is that there was zero pressure on that relationship.
Yes.
And it gave us the freedom to just experience being around each other and communicating and all the whatever without the pressure of like, I have to make this work. I have to like, how are we going to make this work? Okay. How are we going to deal with that long-term, scenario? Or like you want to stop traveling and I want to keep traveling. Do you want kids? Do I want kids? Like all that shit. We were like, we don't have to decide any of that because we're not going to be together forever. We're going to break up. It was so nice.
I love that going into the relationship with that. Because like you said, it just takes the pressure off. It's like, all right, we're free to explore this thing without the pressure of like these arbitrary milestones that people say we need to hit. We could just explore whether we even like being around each other. Cool.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
We're going to break up is like the funniest way to start a relationship, though. Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that.
Oh yeah, it was
We're going
very
to break
clear.
up.
Yeah, I remember
Put
that
it on the
conversation.
calendar.
Like,
This is
yeah,
the day.
we're like, well, because we would date other people. It was like sort of an open situation, right? And so we were like, well, you'll meet someone, and then you'll like them more than me, and then you'll go be with her. Okay, cool. You know, and then he met. Here's the story. He did meet a girl, and I was like, wait a minute. I mean, he met several girls, right? Like we were open. We were like literally open, and then he met this girl that I was like, she has everything. She is younger than him. She's like hot. She's Canadian. She loves canoeing and rock climbing, whatever Canadians like. And I was like, none of those things. And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, I love you. Oh no, you know. And so that was the trigger. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, like very broad, you know, kind of like tying into the time. This is like total life stuff now. Like,
sorry guys.
You know, like it's got nothing to do with work, but it's true though, because like we're talking. It's not like when you think about autonomy, you're not just thinking about your job. You're thinking about how that job fits into your life and all the things
and
that
who you are. Yeah.
Who you are, what's important to you, like, you know what I mean? Like all that matters. So I don't know. This has been pretty cool. We're already over the hour.
Yeah, we're over.
I think you have anything else like burning that you want to say about this?
No, I do want to. I think we should maybe talk next time or another time about like how to get the autonomy, how to negotiate with a client or a boss or whatever, a potential workplace about the autonomy that you want to have. I think I would love to have a conversation about strategies for that.
Okay. I can think of like 3 talking points about that right off the top of my head. So let's do that next week.
Yeah, part 2. Okay.
Sweet.
Kev, sorry, you missed it.
Good morning. Good morning. What's up, Kev? We'll catch you next week.
All right,
later,
everybody. Bye, everybody. See you guys. I'm ending it. I'll do it.